Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the Lazy Redhead. And if you don't know, I am the lazy. It just gets worse every time, doesn't it? Yeah, I got food. I don't know what it is about eating on camera. Oh, that was a bacon one. Right, today, growing it back. I've had a lot of questions. What I've done is gone on the most asked questions and I've written them down. Well, I've taken notes. I've ripped them off the internet. Okay, first of all, it was as per the last video, so finding your style. I tasked you with creating a mood board made up of answering your 5 faves. If you don't know what the 5 faves are, they are garment, colour, room, or part of a room. Colour is also a palette, it can be a palette of maximum 3, it just gets too much otherwise. Texture. I chose an indoor and an outdoor texture because I'm greedy, and some sounds or sound, right? So that could be, I don't know, birds in the sky, favourite album, favourite artist, favourite instrument, whatever that is, whatever your interpretation of sound, that's what I want you to put on your mood board, right? So first of all, about the mood board, let me get my thing up. Most asked questions, frequently asked questions. We're going to do it at the beginning, not at the end, because we're wrapping up the first video so that we can get some context for this video, growing it back. Okay, it will make sense in a moment. Hopefully. It makes sense to me, which isn't saying a lot. Most asked question, the purpose of a mood board. I keep calling it a moon board. Maybe it's the thing. So the purpose of a mood board is to convey a general idea or feeling about a particular topic. Now the feeling is, for me, the kind of epicenter of this entire thing, right? Is a feeling, okay? Which brings me on to my next point. Remember in the last video, Kelsey Rodriguez said the difference between, what is going on with that? Is that sheep having a fit? Oh my God, I think it was, you know. Oh, it's fine now, it's eating grass. Sorry. The problem is I back on to livestock, right? And I care for them all so much that I'm just like a bee. I feel like a mother just on tenterhooks all the time. Right. Kelsey Rodriguez, that was it. She had said, made a good point actually about ascertaining whether the things you like or the type of thing that you like is because you like looking at them or you like creating them. Right, so the mood board is really going to help you with this, certainly when we start to put it to use today. Okay, so you need to keep that in the forefront of your mind, right? So when I say about what is a mood board and I hit on the specific feeling about a particular topic, the topic is your visual aesthetic and everything you feel about it. Okay, right, moving on. Did we get that? Have we ticked that off? The next most asked questions about the mood board is what is the difference between a mood board and a theme board? Right, this was a bit weird to me because I'd never really considered a theme board. Right, so here it is. This is what Google says. A mood board conveys a general feeling that you get about a design idea. Again, highlight it. Highlight feeling, right? However, a concept board provides a stimuli or inspiration to start the creative work. So again, feeling, so that internal, external, internal, external. See what I mean? Okay, we're getting there. Right. Next frequently asked question about the bloody mood board. What is a mood board for mental health, right? Now, I thought this was an odd one, but then when I read the answer, I was like, meh. Makes sense based on the second half, which is growing it back. So this is another piece of information I need you to highlight. A mood board is a type of visual organizer that can help bring your ideas and emotions to life, okay? Again, motive, feeling. And I think this is the last one. Last but by no means least, what are 3 importances of mood boards? Okay, so mood boards serve many purposes, starting with organising projects inspiration. They're a valuable resource to help keep the style and aesthetics of a project consistent with clients' goals and expectations, right? But you are the client. You're your own client who has your own goal. Your goal is finding your style, your expectations should be linear in that it's time driven, okay? Just stick with me, just bloody stay with me. This is basically it, right? First thing that we do when we're trying to design an idea, like put something into the world that is in our head is a mood board. And I think it's really easy. It's easily accessible. Anyone can do it, whether they're cutting out pieces in a magazine because they don't know how to use technology. I had to teach myself to use technology because I can't very well start cutting and sticking for you guys. I had to actually get off my bum and figure it out. Trauma central. It's the beginning of the journey, isn't it? If you haven't done your mood board, don't worry. I know that life can be a bit of a sack, right, sometimes. And I've been a victim to the old life as well. So don't you worry about it. This isn't me kind of calling you out in front of the group, in front of the classroom. I used to read shit off a textbook. Have you ever had that? Trauma. I used to just refuse. Point blank refuse.
Your turn to read a segment out of this book now, Elise.
You can piss off, Miss Clark. Actually, Miss Clark was lovely. Growing it back is going to be no easy task, and it does require you to implement some meaty lifestyle changes. But it's so important, and the benefits are great. Not easy. Benefits fabulous. Here is Growing It Back. I made a PDF. This PDF will be available as a poster to print out for free on my website for sketchbook partygoers and YouTube. Patreon, they have their own file, so they can just print it from their Patreon account, okay? I'm going to start at the top with remove the news. It's so important, this one. I think this is where I started to feel the benefits instantly. Turn the news off. Radio, if it comes on the radio, switch channels, turn it off. Newspapers, don't buy them, don't read them. Magazines, don't read them. Anything that you need to know, that sort of interest to you, that will be dispersed throughout your circle of people. You know, you'll be on the phone to family and friends, having general chit chat. They'll be like, oh my God, did you see the news? Now, they wouldn't say that unless they know that they should know that it be at least some interest to you. Okay, so use your circle, your hive essentially, as your filter. If you are exposed to it in the moment, you might not feel fazed. You might not see it as an issue, or that it would have very little impact on your life. Now, with you being creative, you will be very susceptible to the things about you a lot more than those who are more analytical, what I call a blue brain. You're more of a like yellow green brain, right? They're a blue brain. They're very driven towards analytics, numbers, data, hard, cold facts, boom, boom, boom. You are not. Okay, and that's all right. But what that does then is it has this amazing way of just sucking in everything, whether it wants to or not. Yeah, like it's just like a Hoover on, constantly on. Sounded horrendous, I bet. You get the idea that, and you're just sucking up all this stuff. Get rid of the news. Like I said, use your circle of friends as a way to filter the news for you, and things that will be of interest to you will be naturally filtered into your orbit, right? If it's not, index it, shut it down, shut the conversation down. I'm going to teach you how to do that on another one. But the idea of this map, essentially this like mind map, is to create a void to fill a void, right? There's nothing worse. It's like giving up smoking, isn't there? Right? You're taking something away that has been a huge part of your life, whether you've realized it or not, and then you're left with this void. Okay, so I'm going to fill that void for you, or I'm going to attempt to at least, right? So you're emptying the void by removing the news. You're going to fill the void with something called ask more questions, all right? Be more curious about the things that are in your direct vision, that isn't being given to you by someone who's getting paid to give it to you. Well, I want you to be more curious about your day and the things within it, however small, however minute. The point of this is not for you to go and hit the grounds like, what is philosophy? Why am I here? Existence. Bollocks. No, don't be ridiculous. I need you to bring it in. Bring it right into things that are within your orbit, your immediate orbit. It's about gaining control, understanding what sort of agency you have within yourself. Yeah, well, the things you can change rather than the things you can't. I need you to focus on things you can change. Now, you can choose, because you have free will, you can choose to remove the news. Just saying. Obviously, you're going to be exposed to adverts and stuff like that, but try limit it. Get rid of the television if you need to. Get rid of it. Just sign up to Netflix. Like, get rid of the TV. I know you love your programs, but what are they serving you? Are they negative? Because if they're dramas and like bollocks, they're negative. Trust me. Just trust me. Like I said, big lifestyle changes incoming, okay? Even if it's just like a detox. If you use this mind map as like a detox, try it for a month at least. Right, so it does say here, I do leave you some notes. Don't worry, okay? So notes are as follows. I need my bloody glasses because I've written it too small. Replace the news with questions, right? Oh my God, these are dirty as... This way you can control the vibe of your environment there by making it more positive. This has been the best thing I have done to improve my environment. And that, honestly, it has. It really has. This is, if I can point out to one thing that has had a long-standing positive effect to both my husband and my life, it's been this very thing. We don't buy newspapers. We avoid the news. We avoid trash talk. We avoid fake news. We avoid scaremongering. We avoid it all if we can. Now, I appreciate it's not always the case, but at least limit it. We're exposed to it all the time. Every corner we turn, we're like, boom, you know. My father-in-law once said to me, why do you choose to be ignorant about the world that you live in, right? Why do you choose to walk away, turn a blind eye, that kind of vibe? And I don't, right? But the point is, with this channel, for example, I try and maintain putting out a positive vibe. Sometimes that's not always easy, but then I feel that the response I've got is that I'm more relatable, that they understand my struggle and they feel better about everything rather than me kind of giving you this pristine situation and, oh, I'm in control of this and don't worry, I've got this. No, it doesn't work like that. You want to be authentic. People do need to see that when you're a pissing mess, right, when things are hard and what that looks like. But I still try and put out somewhat of a positive energy into the world, and I think from the feedback I've got from some of my community that they've found that very helpful, right? But that's in my immediate control. Would you not want to be able to just change someone's life, just one person's life, for a brief moment? You know, just be that positive influence just for a brief moment. That is in my control, and I try and maintain that idea every time I switch on this camera, that this might be the video that helps someone out. Now that is in my immediate control and I feel good about that. Can I change the wars around the world? No. Do I feel horrendous about the devastation that it's having to people's family? I do. I feel horrendous about it. But does that feeling of horrendousness, if you like, change their outcome? Does me talking about it and spreading this news change the outcome? No, it doesn't. All it does is spread that toxic stuff. It spreads it. Now, unless you're willing to donate millions of pounds to a cause, or let's say willing, but in a position to at least, right? You know, just £1 million shoved in the back of that. If you're willing, if you're able to do that, then great. If you are able to go out to these places and give aid and volunteer and all that good stuff, then great, good for you. I would never ever stop anyone or belittle anyone's efforts to even try. But that's not my point. I'm not in a position to do that. And me feeling bad about it and talking about how bad I feel about it with everyone around me and bringing them down and them feeling bad about it all, none of this bad feeling is going to change. You're just sitting from your privileged point of view, talking about a situation you know nothing about, you've only been fed by the media, to then say how bad you feel about it. What the good is that doing for anyone?
Passion.
Bring it back, Elise. See what I mean? The passion. Next, limit your social media. Now, I do realise that this is a controversial one in that I run a business on social media. I don't care. I do not care. You'll come back. It's fine. So there's the void. I'm taking it out and creating that void, aren't I? Now I'm going to fill that void, right? The void I'm filling with is create your own. So This has been and practiced by most of you at this point, and I get it, right? So, but rather than waiting until things are too much, this is also another thing about this, right? Don't wait for it to be too much where you need to take a month off social media, right? Not because I want you to take a month off and I don't like it, no. But what's the point of getting yourself to that point where you need to take such drastic actions? Why can't you just make better decisions as we go along, little decisions, conscious decisions now, and you'll never get to that point. You might find that you are utilizing on social media the same amount of time with those months taking out, but you're doing it over a more even consistency, right? Because the feeling, and not because I want you to consistently be in social media, it does nothing to do with that. But think of the feeling you get that warrants that type of reaction of just like shutting down. That's a horrible feeling, no? Awful. I know that feeling. It's horrendous. Yeah? Well, let's not get to that point. Let's make better decisions, conscious decisions as we go along, and we will not get to that point where we feel those feelings, or at least we can limit the amount of times we do. That's the difference. So that's what I mean about creating your own, okay? So try implementing a conscious schedule, thereby creating your own boundaries, in turn, your own internal influences. Next, this is a big one, and you've heard it a lot. Toxic people, behaviors, and environments. I'm creating a void. Now I'm going to fill said void. I'm going to fill that void with be a Kit Kat and take a fucking break. Okay, so this one comes with its own sort of subcategories. All right, so here's the subcategory situation. Note: environments could include the workplace. Most workplaces now, I think, are fairly toxic, just with the way society is. If you're one of those that don't feel that, then good for bloody you. Well done, you've hit the jackpot. But we all have to work. We all have to do something. We're not always as fortunate to be in situations where we can choose to work from home, choose to start a business. It's not going to happen, right? There are a lot of us out, more so. In that then, what we're going to do, I suggest limit your time. Known toxic sub-environments. Oh, my throat. Limit your time, therefore, in those toxic sub-environments, such as break room dramas. Get in, get out, like the SAS, in, out. Done. Get your cup of tea, get your lunch, out. Be like a Kit Kat and crack your own new exciting break time. Just fill it with stuff you love. Again, it's your break time. It's your free time. You have free will. You have a choice. These are me highlighting the amount of agency you have over your life and the things in it. It's all small things, and that is the biggest thing, right? I'm not asking you to move houses. I'm not asking you to move countries. I'm not asking you to get a new job. No. These are things you can implement today, tomorrow, now, whenever, right? But they are things within your immediate control, things you don't necessarily have to wait to implement. They are done. You make that conscious decision, done. It's in the bag, done at checkout. No receipt given.
No refund.
Okay, next. Name the culprit. Now, I had a conversation with my beautiful Magpie. Love you. Magpie's book actually is out in May. She'll kill me for saying that, but we all need to support each other, don't we? We all need to support one another. I'm just brushing my keyboard because I keep seeing hairs with the reflective light. Anywho, name that culprit. I gave some advice to Magpie that I gave to my husband many years ago, and was given to me many years before that even. The gremlin that we all have inside us, we name it. So, it might be Barbara. Sorry for anyone whose names are the following names I might pick out of my brain hat, right? Barbara, Bob, Jonathan, I don't know. Whatever name you choose, you start calling your gremlin that. What it does though over time, it may seem really stupid to start with, but what it does is it detaches you. Not only are you able to confront it by saying a name, like
Shut up, Bob, Karen, Deirdre. Critic.
You're bringing the dialogue from an internal to an external. You're also creating distance from the gremlin, from those negative, toxic thoughts. But you're also giving yourself permission to not take responsibility for them as well. So rather than you feeling the feelings, having those toxic thoughts, kind of just those intrusive thoughts and something else that you've chosen to name, Bob, you're then kind of almost denouncing responsibility. You are then having a conversation with that culprit, right? Trust me, it may seem stupid, but by God, it works. It really, really works. I can't stop those negative thoughts for you. It takes years of practice, and unfortunately, you can't. You will always have intrusive thoughts in some, even if they come in like a flight, then the flight at an inch from the ground gets denied access and you're able to lift that flight back off and it goes. It's still coming into your orbit, isn't it? Right? And depending on how vulnerable you're feeling that day, some days can be harder than others. So for those extra hard days and for every other day thereafter, externalize your culprit, name it, and then start yelling at it. In the mirror, wherever, doing whatever, even if it's in the room, just get it out your body, right? Name it, shame it. After you've named that culprit, which is somewhat like I'm taking it away from, so I'm still creating that void. I'm gonna just play you again, 1 second. I then want you to feed your body and soul, and this could look something like this. Right, so obviously we've given our gremlin a name, like Bob or Nelly. This will create some distance for you and your negative thoughts. Feeding your body and soul could be as simple as dance like nobody's watching. Read a few pages of your favourite book, right? Because it might be that you're in a situation where you can't dance, you can't get up, I don't know what your personal situation is, but just choose something easy, accessible, light-hearted and fun, right? You've had an argument with the culprit. You're now going, I'm going to go off and do my own thing, like a boss, right? And again, it might be as simple as making yourself a cup of tea, making a hot chocolate, mixing up a martini. I don't know, whatever that may look like, right? Putting on some music and dancing. That's what I do a lot of the time. When I'm overwhelmed, I blast the music on and I just start dancing and organising, pottering, just kind of trying to push through those horrible thoughts and just going, I am drowning you out with something worth listening to because you are talking shite. Okay, and last, but by no means least, tomorrow is not guaranteed. Now, we know this. I'm not telling you to suck eggs, but sometimes we forget this. Okay, I'm not saying you don't know this, but are you actually living life with this in the forefront? You gotta ask yourself that question because I can't answer it for you. Now, I'm not saying life can be sunshine and rainbows. Life cannot at all be up here all the time. It's just unattainable. You'd burn out within a few hours. Well, I would anyway. But this can be manifested in the smallest of ways, like wearing those patchwork orange dungarees, or stopping to smell the flowers, or even putting on your favourite song while you're sitting to get ready for work. Do shit that makes you happy. It seems like a lot, but it's 5 things. I'm creating 5 voids and then putting in 5 fillers, essentially. More positive influences. If you've noticed, the mood board is an internal journey, right? You asking questions within yourself about what garment you love, song you love, texture, colour palette, colour, whatever, right? All these are internal. This is an exercise of the external. Things you can physically implement, actually put into practice now, other than one, which is a fact in that tomorrow's not guaranteed, okay? And do shit that makes you happy. Now, these are small things. For me, obviously changed my wardrobe and just wear things like this little harness thing. I found a girl, Sammy, tattooed head to toe, beautiful thing. She's where I learnt more is more, with like rings, jewellery. She's amazing. And she's been through her own very turbulent journey with her style, being criticised for it by family and friends, ostracised in some cases, right? She just spoke to me. The other one was Florence Given, so Flossie. She is an author. Haven't read any of her books, but I found her on Instagram. She is one crazy son of a bitch. Not even kidding. Again, she gets it. I would say Sammy is far more, I want to say British. British about it. Very like, that's what I'm doing. Do things that make you happy. Wear what you love. That kind of thing. She's very British. Flossie is just Flossie. She's crazy. Oh, but I love her. These 2 women I've recently found in my life, and I follow them a lot. You know, they just spread this message of acceptance about wearing what you love, doing what you love. You know, just it's such simple things, right? I know this might seem it's not in conjunction with the topic, finding your style, growing it back, but it really is. Because in order to find your style and be comfortable with that, you have to be comfortable with yourself. You have to realize how much control you have over your life and the impact, the positive impact that that control will have once you found it. Because it's not about that person coming up to you and calling you an asshole and then walking away. You can't control that. Probably control where you see these people and just avoiding that place. Those best friends you've had for years, but just selfish. You turn around, you're like, actually, they are fairly selfish. I could be very selfish. I have to be selfish at the moment more than anything. I'm finding life extremely difficult, and I'm putting all elements of this into practice at the moment, hardcore. A lot of it I've already implemented, like the news. I could limit my social media a little bit, but I don't find that is causing me any great issues. I don't use it so much to influence my artwork as much, because I know that sometimes that can be a bit just soul destroying. Name the culprit. Ours is called Baldric. Tomorrow's not always guaranteed. That is becoming more and more apparent to me as the months go on, I'll be honest. It's difficult, you know. I'm not going to kind of go into detail about what's been going on, because I realise it can be quite triggering for a lot of people, and that's not what I'm here to do. I'm just here to give you permission to take control of the small things, because the small things are in fact the big things, right? I'll give you an example. Picture your favourite food or drink. Now imagine sitting on a bench in the sun and consuming that favourite thing. And for there's a moment in time where it's almost like everything just stops. Time stops and you're like, oh my God, that is in your control. You have the ability to have that at least once a day. And it is your right to have that once a day. But it takes a conscious effort by you. I was talking to my husband about it this morning, about what's going on. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't know what is going on with me at the moment. That's still the jury's out on that one, I'll be honest. But, you know, things are happening. It's not like I've been left to the, well, I don't know, maybe I might have been left to the ether, but as far as I'm aware, stuff is happening. Stuff is going on in the background I'm unaware of, but ultimately I am getting the help that I need. But it doesn't come without a realisation that I have to make some serious lifestyle changes, massive. And the impact isn't just on me, it's on everyone around me. This channel and my subsequent platforms aren't going to be affected at all, because it's one of the places I run to when things are hard. This channel, coming on camera, painting, doing my job, these are all resources that I use actively to feel, one, part of the world, two, that I still have this in my control and that whatever's going on hasn't robbed me of that. I will not let it rob me of that. So there's growing it back, okay? And it won't be easy. What I can say is you being able to access that part of you that just wants to rediscover the small things in life and be just so absolutely curious and just in wonder of these small things. That is what we want to concentrate on. That is what we're aiming for, okay? That is the very thing that I have been talking about this whole time. Once you're able to do that and connect with that side of yourself a little bit more, just a fraction, and you've been able to stave off those toxic influences, you will start to see big changes in yourself, the way you feel, the way you think. Yeah, it's amazing. It's life-giving. Now, though, what we're going to do is we are going to take our mood board, we're going to put it to one side because we're going to need access to it, and we are going to think about a piece that we're in love with, that is just like our all-time favourite piece. I call it the fluke piece because we can't always make work we just embody everything we want to be, see and be about. But there are always fluke pieces that you feel in yourself that does that, okay? And it's all about you. So that could be on a scrap piece of bloody paper. It could be in a sketchbook. It could be on a canvas. It could be on a piece of paper shoved under the wherever, right? Everyone should have at least one of these pieces, and we only need one. We only need one thing. Now, it could be a doodle, right? I don't care, but I need you to grab it, because what that's going to do is guide you in a way that allows you to use your mood board, pick out elements of your mood board, because we are going to put these two together. We're going to fuse them together, and I'm going to sort of help you see how we're going to use the mood board and potentially this fluke piece, bring them together. We're going to analyze them together. We're going to look at these features of each and see whether there's any correlation. And if there isn't, don't worry, because there will be a reason for that, which I'll go into more detail in just a moment. This will help you and guide you into ascertaining what it is you love looking at versus what it's you love doing. That whole Kelsey Rodriguez thing we spoke about last week, okay? Because that is a very real thing. Now, I love minimalist artwork, but would I practice it? I probably can't practice minimalist artwork. I'm a maximalist. I've always been a maximalist. I also love some hyper-realistic work, right? I love it. But it's less about the technique of hyperrealism, more about the subject that they've chosen to render, right? So like I said, if it's a still life and it's filled with some random shit, I always sit there and just ponder how on earth these things came together. And I love that. I absolutely love that. There's something so beautiful in that, because it's me and my moment. Someone's painted this painting and I've created this narrative in my head about how these things came together. It's just such a beautiful thing. I love that. You know, there's things I know I love to looking at and experiencing, but the act of doing and getting whatever's in my head out, my experience of it. So although I can appreciate other people, I appreciate their vision and what they like, even if it's like light years away from my personal aesthetic. I love it because that's you. I want to see you. I want to experience a bit of you for a minute. Me is an entirely different ballgame, isn't it? Yeah. So that's what it's about. And getting your piece that you love, that's your fluke piece, I call it, and your mood board, and putting them together, and we're going to analyze them both together. Not in a really like critical way, right? Just to kind of consider what's going on there. Cool. Meet you back here in, well, for you a second. For me, it'll probably be about like an hour. Okay, I know that it's been a couple of days. I know that. For you, it's been a second, split second. Boop. I've had an outfit change. I look all pasty and gross, no makeup, nothing. I appreciate it, but I had to go out. Soz. So, picking up where we left off, I wanted you to choose a piece, a fluke piece, and then compare them to... One moment. Sorry about that. Mail. Yeah, I wanted you to compare it to your mood board, and then we're going to talk about possibly some of the similarities or not so similarities. You get it? My fluke piece is this piece here. Absolutely bloody love it. And alongside my mood board. Now, obviously, there are similarities because the mood board, it somewhat represents the room, etc. I get it, right? So visually, like colours, stuff like that. Somewhat textures as well. Yours might be slightly different. You might find your fluke piece, the piece you've done and you love doing, everything about it from the process to the evolution of it. For me, this one is like a eureka moment, being a bit more bold, being a bit more like in your face with my work is very much what I'm about. And not holding back so much, I think for me was a big deal, and the realization that it doesn't matter how far I go because there's no risk really involved. Okay, I might waste a few materials, but what I learn out of that far outweighs any waste that I could possibly make. Well, unless it's like Sennelier oil pastels, something like that, then obviously. We have cheap materials for that, don't we? So I'm not concerned. This is like my turning point, I feel, for this piece. This piece is in my bedroom, and it kind of sits as a constant reminder that every day I must continue to eat more risks. You know, that's what for me it's about. My mood board for me really does just embody everything I want my work to sing, to be. the way it imposes itself into the room, but more like a ball of light rather than something that you're confronted with. And I don't want my work to be confrontational. It used to be. I don't want it to be confrontational. I want it to be inviting. I want it to be like a positive energy. I want my work to admit light into a room rather than admitting questions, grey areas, ums and ahs. I can't be dealing with that. And I feel my mood board is a reflection of that also. Granted, it's wild, it's mental, it's in your face, it's very eclectic. That's what I'm about. As a person, I'm very eclectic. Like, even when I live my life, the way I dress, the way I, curate my home, decorate my home, the things I like. I like the unusual, the odd, the kind of weird and wonderful, I think is the best way to describe it. I'm getting emails all over the jolly, all over the jolly. If you find, though, that your fluke piece and your mood board is polar opposites, that means that what you love doing and where you want to go with that fluke piece and what you want your work to embody, like how you want it to sit in this world, like be in this world. Do you just want it to be quietly kind of in the corner like baby, or do you want it to be loud, proud, out there? Now, there's nothing wrong with either or, but it's about the journey, it's about the process. At the end of the day, your work has to represent you and your place in it and how you feel about the world around you. This changes, this evolves. I think the best person to look at in regards to that is probably Mark Rothko. As an artist, his evolution is quite eclectic. He started out with life drawing and then went into still life, then went into surrealism, and then all of a sudden you've got this abstract expressionism. That man's paintbrush has journeyed quite a number of genres throughout its career. So always remember that the best of us, the best artists out there have journeyed. Try not to get caught up with making it look like a collection, or it has to look all the same, or I want someone to look across the room and see my work. Well, if I put you in a room full of highlighted pieces from each of the genres that he decided to dabble in, you would think that it was just like a collective, really, rather than a single artist just expressing himself. So that's one major piece of advice. So do not be deterred if your mood board does not match your fluke piece, because all that says to me is that you've either evolved, so there's something about the fluke piece that you just love, the process, the freedom you felt whilst doing it, those feelings that you exerted while you were doing it, and you're obviously remembering that. Or that the mood board is things that you like looking at rather than the things you like creating. This is a really big thing that I think we've stumbled upon whilst on this journey, and I think that has to be looked at before you kind of go any further, because all you're going to do is you're going to crowbar yourself into an uncomfortable situation whereby you're trying to follow the mood board rather than the fluke piece. The fluke piece is what we need to be looking at. The mood board was an exercise for you to actually realise that you've got all the answers within you. You don't need to be looking through art books, looking at different genres, trying to emulate her or emulate him, right? There's really no point in going down that road, because all you're going to do is make yourself feel like shit. Because I've done that for years, right? Now, unless you're at college or university, those sort of arenas, they will require you to look at other artists. But for just pure self-indulgent, I want to create, this is why I want to create, don't think too much into it, vibes, that's what you focus on, the doing. Keep your mood board about you, because I think it's a really good exercise for you to understand that these are the things you love. This is stuff you love. This is you. That everything on this mood board is you. It might look like shit. It might be all over the place. It doesn't matter. That mood board represents you, and that is something that no other artist will have. And you'll feel far better about finding your style, wherever that ends up, wherever that is, that will evolve. You'll never land on a style. You'll always evolve with it, Now that's the journey, and you'll never get to the end. And I think there's a level of acceptance that needs to come with that also, that you'll never ever stop. There isn't an end. Yeah, it's just a continuous, you know, you might have this, you might have this, but ultimately you are moving forward. And that is the beauty of it. I think that's beautiful. A never-ending purpose in life, you know, and when you accept that there isn't necessarily a single style for you to land upon, the better. You will have seen in my last video, my first image I did. I'll show you that quickly as a reminder, if I can bloody find it. Because you know what I'm like, I've got canvases everywhere at the moment. I'm in full swing of everything. Full swing of literally everything. Oh, here we are. This just serves as a reminder, and then I'll show you one of the latest pieces that I've almost finished, which is on canvas. So, but it gives you an idea that I don't necessarily reject this first piece. So this is kind of that. I know. Versus probably that, or even I know. You'll get to see some of these being made in due course, but yeah, polar opposites, huh? And that's only in a couple of years, and I feel comfortable with the progression that I'm making. I feel very, I feel very comfortable. I feel excited. I feel engaged with the sort of stuff I'm making. But will it change in another couple of years? Yeah, it will. But that's the great thing about it, right? This is my work. I've done it. And the thing is, if I've picked up the paintbrush, the oil pastel, the pencil, whatever it is, if I picked it up and applied it to a surface and created something that I'm happy with, even if I'm not bloody happy with it, even if it's a bag of crap, it's still my work. It's still part of my journey. Each piece I do, I learn from all the time, learn from them. And that's what I want to emphasize with growing it back and finding your style, right? Growing it back just basically allows you to accept the fact that you will die soon, and there is no point sweating the small stuff, Sally. Obviously, if there's a Sally out there, I apologise. I'm not talking to someone specifically. It was just, it went together in a sentence. There is no point. You might as well enjoy it whilst it lasts, for however long it lasts, you know, and that's what growing it back is about. Don't worry about the things you can't control, you know, leave it out, let it go, just shut it out. There was a time in your life as a child, actually, where none of this came into your orbit. All you cared about was the next tree you were going to climb, or whether, you know, you can draw on the walls without getting found out. You never can. Always got found out. Ignorance is bliss. And my husband and I, we speak about this quite often. And it's always been like a derogatory term, isn't it? Like, oh, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is absolutely bliss. No joke. It really is. If I could describe a utopian situation, being ignorant, like actively ignorant, that doesn't mean stupid, right? So let's just iron that crease out right now. That doesn't mean stupid. Actively being ignorant, that is making the choice to live your life in ignorant bliss. Sweet spot of life. Sweet spot of life. Now, I'm not saying that this will all save your problems, right? Because I, as some of you will know, am finding life a bit hard, right? But that, I think that has more of a health implications, things that I can't actively control. One moment. No, I can't be bothered. Things I can't actively control, as opposed to, you know, me just being dissatisfied with my life in general. I'm not. I have a very privileged life. I'm in a privileged situation. But even prior to this, these were things that I've been practicing for years. My husband and I have practiced for years. Since we've been together over 10 years now. And we have actively shut out the news. We've actively tried to... Granted, there are some toxic people, behaviours and environments that unfortunately land where they land, right? And that might take a bit longer. That's certainly one of the things that I struggle with, is identifying those toxicities until it's somewhat too late where it triggers me, you know. But again, that's my journey, right? That I'm still practicing all these things. Or that mind map is very much in full swing in this household. My work, in fact, is a brilliant example, because I want nothing but for my work, like I said, to project a level of joyfulness. You know, it has to be joyful, it has to be humorous, it has to be playful. You know, if you don't like my work, that's not really my problem. That's none of my business, in fact, actually. But that is how that's what I put into my work in order for it to be received that way on the other end. That's kind of my thinking. Like a time traveling mailbox, that kind of thing, you know. I know it was a lot, the last few videos. Certainly this one was probably meatier than the previous. But keep the mood board though, that's important, keep it. If you fancy doing another one in a couple of weeks or even a couple of months, then do it. Compare the two then. Even if you don't like the mood board or you found it to be fruitless, just stick it on your wall or stick it somewhere to act as a reminder. If you're on the journey of finding your style, certainly in your infancy of that, then please just look within, really, really look within, explore everything within before you start trying to gain those answers externally. Because I want you to cultivate it from within yourself. And then you can go out into the world, go on Instagram, go on Pinterest and appropriate elements of other artists' work that you enjoy, that fits within your idea, because we do need inspiration. We still need to be inspired, and you know, looking at other artists is a fantastic way of doing that. But it's more about you having an idea that you've already got in your head, not knowing fully how to express that idea, and then going out looking for those specific things, rather than what is my style? I must get my style from other people. Try and find it within. It makes for a much better foundation, is what I'm saying. You become a lot more confident. You're unwilling then to let that horrible gremlin in. Not that you won't. This devilish little devil, really. It can get into most space like bloody water. Ultimately though, once you've created your foundation within, the culprit is not going to find it as easy to get you down about it, because your foundation is completely your own, you know, and you're just sort of selecting, like going shopping, you know, you're going shopping for food and you're getting the ingredients. Ultimately though, you've still got to come home and make it, and all of that work is yours. The farmer essentially can't take credit for, you know, the spag bowl you've got on, because he was happened to grow the bloody tomatoes you used. That makes sense? Is that a better analogy? Am I making sense? Are you smelling what I'm cooking? That was a really good tie-in, actually. Cooking, food, farmer, spag bowl. Oh, spag bowl. I'm hungry. I digress. I hope that this week was not traumatic or ludicrous. And I hope that you found some pearls of wisdom in there somewhere. Anyway, guys, love ya! And have a good week. Oh, sketchbook party this week. What is it? Into the Woods We Go. I'm really excited about that. That's a Speedy Gonzales as well. So get out your sketchbooks, guys. Anyway, bye guys. Mwah!